Hello everyone and welcome back to another deck guide, this time featuring Trains for Genesys. This is a deck that just got a whole ton of new support, which is great because it kind of wasn't really playable in Genesys prior because of the lack of links. See, Trains does like its links, but with the new support we can now make it work pretty well even without them. So if you like Trains, and who doesn't, let's get started. Starting off with Babbledecker here, who can be normal summoned despite being a level 10 without tributing, which is important because this is basically rank 10 tribal. So being able to put level 10 bodies on board is everything that's important for the deck. And then on normal or special summon, you can special summon an Earth Machine from your hand. So if you have an actual starter that you were gonna use and you need to put it on board, you can just normal summon Babbledecker, get it out anyways, and go from there with a free extender, which is really cool because he can also, during your main phase, if your opponent has activated any card or effect this turn, just Zodiac out into a rank 10 Xyz. And we do have one that is a negate, so that just protects the rest of your turn from any possible interaction. Next up, we have the new Night Train Blue Traveler, who can discard itself from hand to add a train connection or revolving switch art from deck or grave back to hand, and then when in the graveyard, even more importantly, you can target another Earth Machine in your graveyard, special summon both this and the card that you targeted. This does machine lock you, but we don't care because we're only playing machines anyways, and we do have a good number of things that machine lock you. But just like a double reborn is great, and we are playing the revolving switchyard to add. We are not playing train connection because it is a garbage card. Then we've got maybe the most important new card to the deck, Convex Knight. This guy is a level 4, and if a machine is already on the field and this card is in your hand, you can special summon it out, then make its level become the level or rank of a machine on the field. Interestingly enough, your opponent's machines turn on its summon, but obviously we are doing it ourselves most of the time, and that means that this guy can be either a level 4 or a level 10 when you need him to be, and those are the two most important levels in deck, more or less. And then once he's actually on the field, he just foolishes an Earth Machine, which means we can just like dump Blue Traveler, bring two things back. Just very good, very versatile card. Then I am also playing one Derek Rain. This is a little bit of an older card, but I wanted just like one more extender when I was testing the deck, and this guy's pretty good at it. If a Earth Machine is summoned while this is in your hand, you can just summon this guy out as a level 10 body with halved attack and defense, and then if it's detached from Nexys, you can pop a card. Just like, it's a relatively low value extender, but it is an extender that destroys a thing, and, you know, extension's important. Then maybe the poster child for the entire Trains archetype is Flying Pegasus Railroad Stampede, who is a level 4 that when normal or special summon allows you to summon an Earth Machine from your graveyard with negated effects, and then while this is on field you can target another face-up monster you control to make either the targeted monster become Stampede's level or Stampede become its level. So basically the idea is that this allows you to make two monsters into 10s or 4s, which again are the most important levels. Then we are playing one Regulus, who is an Earth Machine, so he's incredibly searchable, and he can summon himself out from hand by equipping a machine from your graveyard to himself, which is kind of important because we are playing Gearframe, who can summon out from being an equip spell. But even more importantly, Regulus can just send himself from the field to the graveyard as an Omni Negate. Like, cool, protects us, it's part of our actual end board, great card, love it. Then we are playing the aforementioned Revolving Switchyard, who is our field spell, and god, I wish this thing did not say it's one or the other effect per turn because they're both so good. The first effect is that if a level 10 Earth Machine is normal or special summoned to your field, you can then E-Telly out a level 4 Earth Machine with 1800 or more attack from your deck, and make it level 10, but your opponent can no longer take battle damage for the rest of the turn. That means that you really only want to do this going first as part of your combo, not going second, because this is more of a going second OTK deck, and we are really good at it, so we don't want to make the opponent take no battle damage. But this allows you to summon out Railroad Stampede or Convex Knight. Then its second effect, which remember, again, you can only do one or the other, unfortunately, you can send a card from your hand to the graveyard to just add a level 10 machine, so you can just grab out Babbledecker, basically, off of that. Then we've got a contentious pick. I am playing 2 copies of Exceptional Schedule with it, which is another new piece of support that for some reason they slapped 10 points on, so we're paying 20 for this alongside the 20 for Regulus, and that's all of our actual core points for the deck. And this guy's much better in Advanced, but okay in Genesis. Because what it does is it adds a special schedule, which we are not playing, or an urgent schedule, which we are playing, from your deck to your hand. Then you can give the opponent a token. There's particular things you would want to do that for, but most of the time I find myself not. But you can also banish this from your graveyard to summon a level 10 Earth Machine from grave or banishment, and send a card you control to the graveyard. That's important because the actual urgent schedule we're searching, its primary effect in this build of this deck is that if this set card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can search a level 10 Earth Machine. Or level 10 Machine, doesn't even have to be Earth for this one, but we aren't playing a level 10 that isn't Earth. So the idea being you search the urgent schedule, then send it for exceptional to reborn something, and then you also just get a search off of that as well. Urgent Schedule's actual activated effect is to summon a level 4 or lower and a level 5 or higher Earth Machine from your deck, but the effects are negated, and because we don't have links, they'll never be the same level, which means we can't overlay them, so that's like honestly not useful, even though it's a double E-telly, but sending it for the exceptional schedule or like droplet or something to search something is pretty good. It's fine. Then we are playing Infinitracks, because you have to play Infinitracks when you're playing trains. So Infinitrack Harvester is actually our only unconditional one-card starter in the deck, but we have 6 copies of it. On normal or special summon, this allows you to add any other Infinitrack monster from deck to hand, and you can also target another machine on field to combine the level of Harvester and it. So for example, if you put this on field and you put Regulus on field, you can have Harvester target Regulus, both of them become level 10, then you can use Harvester as material for a rank 10. But it also just has a bunch of good search targets, the first of which is Infinitrack Anchor Drill. This guy's kind of filler, we just want like one more Infinitrack that we are capable of searching, and he's pretty good. He's similar to Babbledecker. On normal or special summon, you can special summon an Earth Machine from your hand, and then it can also combine its level with something that is less important for Anchor Drill, because level 4 is like not as good as having the level 2 combine with stuff. But still, again, we wanted one more search target, and it's not a bad one. And then the actual search target we want to be getting is Brutal Dozer. Brutal Dozer contribute an Earth Machine on the field to special summon himself out, and then E-telly another Infinitrack from your deck. That's going to be Tunneler. Tunneler, same thing, it can tribute to summon itself from hand if it gets stuck there, but it can also banish from grave to shuffle 5 Earth Machines from grave back into the deck and draw 2 cards, which is so good for follow-up, basically. Like, if we end up going first, and we do a whole big combo to make this big board, then going into our second turn, turn 3, being able to shuffle all of those materials back in to use them again, and also draw 2, is really strong. Then we have 3 copies of Heavy Forward, which is basically 3 more copies of Harvester. On activation, it can search an Infinitrack and get Harvester, or if you already normal Harvester and that got ashed, you can get Brutal Dozer to just keep going there, so it can be extension here. And then once per turn, you can target an Xyz you control to change its battle position or attach this as material. We do have cards that care about how many materials they have attached, so that is important. Then we have 3 Machina Gear Frames, as mentioned earlier. If this is an equip spell, it can summon itself out, so there's some synergy with Regulus there. But more importantly, if this card is normal summon, you can add a Machina monster from your deck to your hand. That becomes a 1-card combo if the opponent has a monster on field or grave, and we'll talk about that in the extra deck. Your search is almost always going to be Unclaspar, who is a Poplar. When added to hand, you can just summon him out, you get machine locked, who cares? And then when this card is normal or special summon, you can send a Machina from your deck to the graveyard. That's always going to be Citadel, who, if a machine on your field is destroyed, summons himself back from graveyard, then can quick effect target a machine you control to destroy it and all of your opponent's monsters with less or equal to attack. So basically, you go normal summon Gear Frame, add Unclaspar, summons itself out, that gives you 2 4s, dump the Citadel, then if you can get the Citadel on board, that's a board wipe. So, just like, it's a 5-card small package that is a board wipe plus a rank 4, which does the thing. Then we have room and points for 10 non-engine, and I'm just playing a ton of the best, relatively cheap board breakers in the format, because this is primarily a going second deck. So Darkhole, Heavy Storm or Gray, Duster's fine. It's we had 9 extra points, and it's 1 more copy of Heavy Storm effectively. And then Droplet is really, really good in this deck because you can send off things like your Machina Citadel that you want in the graveyard. Same with like a Blue Traveler. If you open the Switchyard, you can pitch it off of Droplet or something. And then same thing with Urgent Schedule. All this cares about is being set and then sent. So you can send it as cost for Droplet. You can pop it with your own Heavy Storm, and that actually turns on the Rhoda, which is kind of interesting. And then before we get into the extra deck, I just wanted to mention that this is a very customizable deck. There's a lot of stuff you can do for it. You can play a bigger Machina package if you want. You might see that this is Mark II of this deck, and that's because Mark I used an Ancient Gear package to basically extend further, make a big guy. It put like a fusion on the field that can float into another even bigger fusion. And that was fine, but it just adds a bunch of extra bricks, and I am trying to make this as good of a deck as possible, just because I think it kind of needs to be competitive in Genesis, because again, we're still missing those links, and it still does hurt. So I took out all the bricks and just like made it as compact as I could. But you could go, add back those packages, customize it further, make it your own. This is very much a modular deck. Then in the extra deck, our first card is Gaming Gamer GG. This is what you're making off of Machina, add un class bar, summon un class bar, and if special summon, it changes all of your opponent's monsters to attack position so you can kill them, and then if your opponent has a monster on field or grave, you can detach a material to Foolish a Machine. So that makes it so normal gear frame, add un class bar, dump Citadel, overlay for Gaming Gamer, send Blue Traveler, ends up being full combo or like full enough. So as long as we fulfill the condition to Foolish off Gaming Gamer, then gear frame is combo. Merrymaker here is just because it is 2 level 4 bodies and we can rank it up into Sargus. We'll talk about that when we get to Sargus. We have 2 River Stormers because it is very important because it is 2/5 bodies. This is what you're making off the Infinitrack package. Then you can detach, add an Earth Machine to hand. Simple as that. But we play 2 because if it gets extra deck ripped, we're kind of screwed a lot of the time, or maybe we want to use another one on turn 3, something like that. Then we've got 1 of Infinitrack Mountain Smasher, mostly just because sometimes you end up in a situation where you want to make a rank 7, and this guy can detach a material to permanently gain 1,000 attack. So you could do that on your first turn, and then if it survives your opponent's turn and comes back to you, you can do it again for a 4,100 attack beater. And again, sometimes you just want to rank 7, and he's large. Then we've got Sargus, who you aren't actually making with 2 level 8s, you're ranking it up over Merrymaker, and then can search Regulus on summon, and then if a material is detached from an Exes on the field, it just pops a card. So it gets you Regulus, it pops a card, cool. Then we've got 1/9 with Earth Slicer, same thing, sometimes you want to make a 9, and this guy can detach any number of materials to pop that many cards. Helps clear a board, take out back row, go for lethal, all that good stuff. Then we've got the most important card in the extra deck, which is the start of our rank 10s, which are the bulk of the extra deck. That's the brand new Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Flying Launcher. This guy lets you normal summon an extra machine, which is great on its own, but also on summon just Rhoda's a machine. So whatever you Rhoda, you can then immediately normal summon with your extra normal. And that's not even it, because you can detach materials to pop back row with this guy too. It's an insane card. It does everything for the deck, and this is the entire reason that we can now make the deck work even without links. Then I'm playing 1 Gengaradai. It's not an amazing card, but you can detach a material to pop an opponent's card if you just need extra destruction and you end up with extra materials. You can use this to pop something and burn for 1,000. It doesn't really come up, but we don't have anything better we could play outside of a 3rd copy of something, maybe. Then we've got 1 number 81 Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Super Dora. This takes 2 level 10s, and once per turn, quick effect, you can detach a material to make 1 monster unaffected by card effects until end of turn. This is normally if you have extra extension, like you opened a really good hand and the opponent didn't interrupt you, you'll make this as part of your end board to protect one of your bigger, actually disruptive guys, like you could protect Regulus with it. Not normally what we're doing, we want to do Gustav Rocket, but we'll get there. Then we are playing 1 Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max, which detaches a material to burn the opponent. That's it. But even more importantly, you can rank it up into the new Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Rocket by discarding a card. And this guy is just a monster negate and destroy on a 5,000 attack body. So that's why we play the Gustav Max, and we are playing 2 Gustav Rockets even though we only have the 1 Gustav Max, because you can also make this off of Babbledecker. It's normally the target. If you have Babbledecker out and your opponent uses a card or effect, you'll turn Babbledecker into Gustav Rocket so that for the rest of the turn, you can protect your actual combo. So that's why we have 2 of them, even though, the normal way of making it is slapping it over the 1 of Gustav Max. Then lastly, we have 1 Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Juggernaut Lebo, which is actually a rank 11, but you can slap it over the top of any rank 10 XZs, and it can attack a number of times per turn equal to its materials plus 1. So if you have 3 materials, it attacks monsters specifically 4 times to clear the board to go for lethal. Then also, you can detach a material to give it 2,000 attack until end of turn, but if you do that, this is the only thing that can attack. So that doesn't come up all the time, because sure, a 6,000 attack body that can attack 3 times is cool, but if the opponent has defense position monsters, you'd rather just slap over all of them with its natural 4,000 attack, and then hopefully you've got a Gustav Rocket and a flying launcher to finish out the game after their board is clear. So with that, let's go see some combos. Okay, so first up is the weird Machina combo that the opponent has to either have a monster or a monster in grave to do, but it's just off of gear frame. We don't actually need a discard. Just for this example to work out, we're going to have an extra card in hand, don't worry about it. But we can go to main phase, normal summon the gear frame, use gear frame to add Unclaspar. We can summon out the Unclaspar because it's a Poplar, which allows us to dump the Citadel. Then we can overlay for Gaming Gamer GG, dump Blue Traveler, who can target itself and Citadel, and here you can pop the entire board with popping, well, it's not going to be the entire board. Gaming Gamer is, I believe, 2,200. Sorry, it's not actually going to show up in the replay. But I think it's 2,200. You can pop it to pop anything 2,200 or below that the opponent has, which is pretty cool. Then overlay for Flying Launcher to search the Harvester, normal summon Harvester, because we have an extra normal summon here, grab Brutal Dozer, and then we can just do full combo from here. We contribute Harvester for Dozer, which summons out the Tunneler, which we can overlay for the River Stormer, which can go get us Regulus to equip the gear frame. And at this point, we can overlay into Leba here just because it's more damage than leaving Flying Launcher by 200. But at this point, we have lethal going second, protected by an Omni Negate. And even if we have to use the Regulus to protect the combo, we have 8,000 damage between the other 3 guys. So that's kind of the idea. If you're going second, gear frame does this, and then kills the opponent. Cool, cool. And then last up for combos, this is going to be your going first primary combo. You have 6 copies of Harvester in the deck. That's really what we want to see here. We need the discard actually for the very last action we're going to take in the combo, frustratingly. We don't need it earlier than that. But we can normal summon out the Harvester and use his effect to go get Brutal Dozer. We can summon out the Brutal Dozer by tributing Harvester, and then he can go summon out the Tunneler from the deck. Then we can overlay for Riverstorm, which allows us to search Blue Traveler. We can discard Blue Traveler to go get Revolving Switchyard. Since we're going first, we can use the first effect of Switchyard by using the Blue Traveler to summon itself and specifically Harvester back. We're going to need the Harvester later for the level modulation. But right now, Switchyard is going to trigger to summon out the Railroad Stampede, which can summon out the Tunneler, target the Tunneler to make it level 10, and hey, now we've got a bunch of level 10s. We can overlay for Flying Launcher and use its effect to go get Regulus. Then we can summon, we have to put a guy in grave for this to actually work. So we use the Flying Launcher to pop our Switchyard, which has already done its job, which puts Tunneler in the grave so that we can summon out the Regulus by targeting the Tunneler, equipping itself, summoning himself out, and then importantly, Regulus is an 8. So Harvester that is still on the field can target Regulus to make both of their levels 10, because it combines them together. That means we can now use the Harvester and the already level 10 Stampede from earlier to go into Gustav Max, burn the opponent for 2,000 for funsies, and then go into Gustav Rocket as our last action, which requires that discard. I mean, it's not the most impressive end board in the world, to be sure, but it is a Monster Negate and Destroy, an Omni Negate, and a whole lot of big bodies. So hopefully, and this does provide follow-up. This is actually quite a bit of follow-up, because we've got things like Tunneler when it goes to grave, we can use to shuffle all of our pieces back into the deck and then draw 2, which is going to be super important on turn 3 to getting to actual lethal. So it's pretty good. It's a pretty good end board for the fact that we don't have links, and it is more of a going second deck. Cool? Cool. Alright, so unfortunately, just like last week, Omega's kind of dragging their feet on making some of the Dominion cards legal, so I can't show you actual games, but I'll just walk you through my process for a bot game, just so you can kind of see what the deck's trying to do. Again, it's Orcust bot. It's the most competitive bot available on Omega. Apparently MD Pro 3, I think it's called, has like full power Ryziel. And because it looks more like Master Duel, people watch those more anyway, so I might have to like look into that, but I just haven't yet. I like Omega. It's just there's the occasional problem of like there's not a competitive bot to try things up against. Okay, so we end up with pretty much full combo on Orcust here. The trick is that, again, this is 2018 Orcust. Very good deck, not good enough for nowadays. So the Dingirsu doesn't end up on the board at the start. They bring him back in the middle of the combo, which means my first action is Dark Hole, so they can't actually protect their board from it. They summon out just some defensive guys, and we can go heavy forward to add. We already have the Harvester, so we just get Brutal Dozer in case Harvester gets ashed or stopped in some way. And now they bring back the Dingirsu with a material for protection. We contribute Harvester to summon out the Dozer. That gets out a negate. Okay, that kind of sucks, but whatever. We can go Blue Traveler to add Switchyard, activate the Switchyard, and then use Switchyard. Remember, we don't want to use the first effect because we're going second. We're trying to OTK here. So we're going to pitch Citadel to go search out Derricrane, which just is extension. We can summon back Blue Traveler and Citadel, then try to blow up the board with Citadel. It wouldn't work anyways because they'd just protect it, but it would make the rest of their stuff vulnerable from that point forward. They negate that, but we still have 2 level 10s on board, so we can overlay for Flying Launcher, use Flying Launcher effect to search, and Derricrane to summon itself out. Now we have Babbledecker and an extra normal summon to summon the Babbledecker, to summon the Anchor Drill. Unfortunately, our board is now full, so we can't summon out the Gear Frame. That's fine. Babbledecker, because the opponent has activated anything this turn, can just turn into Gustav Rocket to contest any additional interruptions that they may have access to. And then we can go to pop their back row with Flying Launcher. They protect that. I want to get Babble offline before we go to battle phase if I possibly can. We overlay for Liba. Then we can go, what's this guy's name again? Anchor Drill, to combine levels with the Brutal Dozer so that we can go into a 9, and then use it to pop a couple of cards on the field. And then at this point, they don't have a bunch of stuff in attack position, so activating Liba is not going to be a good option. But we can go Derricrane. That was actually a mistake, because Liba, if you don't know, Liba can actually attack multiple times even if you don't activate it. It just gets big if you activate it. So we could have just cleared both bodies with the Liba because it can attack monsters twice. That's okay, we still have well over lethal here. So that's generally what we're trying to do. You see the power of like Babbledecker there to just flip out into a guy if you get access to him. We extend quite well through Disruption. Summoning 2 back from grave is great. Citadel just being an incidental board wipe is amazing. We have bonus effects that allow us to pop back row. Very cool, very good going second deck. We're just like maybe a little bit more vulnerable than something like Tenpai. And we're back with closing thoughts on trains. This is not a deck that I'm super familiar with. It's not my pet deck. I know there's a lot of people who pet deck trains, and they're probably going to have better builds. But I have tried to make it work in Genesis before, just a little bit, and could not make it. So I tried out the new support, and it actually functions now. And we've got good extension, and we do a lot of damage, and we have a monster negate to protect us. So I think the deck's a lot better now than it was. It's not tier 1, but I think if you're looking for a going second deck in Genesis, since they slaughtered Makonko behind the Denny's, And Gem Knights is like really high pointed and probably going to get more pointed because of Neparim with the fairy points that have to be coming any day now. This is not a bad choice. And you have 60 points to just spend on board breakers, which is really tight. If you wanted to trim the deck down more, you could go down to like one gear frame, I guess, and play drop the droplets and play cheaper board breakers like Raigeki, just to bring those numbers up if you wanted to. I don't know. I feel pretty confident with the numbers where they are here. The only thing I'd maybe change is I don't know about the exceptional schedules. 20 points for a conditional extender is kind of rough. I don't know why they threw points on this. I don't think the deck would be amazing, like too good without any points on this. Just because you're paying for Regulus already, and the deck's like a little bit clunky, which is thematic because it's trains, but it does play weird. You have to get used to it. This one takes some love to actually learn, to actually play. But that's going to be it for this one, guys. I hope you liked it. I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.